In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
For our own cause, we got a pen and telephone to bypass.
Alright folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. And again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
The wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the globe, in the chat room, wherever you are. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera, and we've got a pretty interesting show tonight. We've got Bob Fletcher joining us, and we'll be talking about Planet X. I will direct you to a couple areas on the website. First off, our picture slider. on LateNightInTheMidlands.com. You can go check that out. You'll notice a couple pictures of a crop circle. Well, you'll also notice those pictures over on our pictures page, which is, you'll see a tab up at the top, says pictures. It's for tonight. It's for, each night. If we have something we want to show you, we'll put them there. And, in these pictures, it shows the crop circle, and then the crop circle kind of worked out. The picture with, the name tabs next to, each body that is shown there. I find it pretty interesting. I don't see much of a flaw in it. I know it is a real crop circle, that I know. And I don't know, it would appear to me like somebody's would be trying to warn us about something or tell us about something. Maybe it's not such a warning, but it looks to me like whatever it is that's coming through there, it looks to me like we'll be going through the tail end of that, and maybe some other planets as well having the same fate. But anyways, where it is, when it happens, I don't know. If it happens in our lifetime, I can't guarantee anything like that because I don't know for sure. I believe in the whole Planet X type theory because I've seen enough pointing towards something like that. Now, it's hard for me to believe people all the time. So when it comes to the people and their stories of when and where, I'm not so sure. Most of the time you get people telling you, well, it's going to be in the next couple of years or the next few years. There's always years to wait. And I mean, that's good, right? But, at the same time, I'm not throwing all my cards in just yet. Where this thing is, or if it'll even affect us in the next 100 years, I don't know. I really don't. I'm being told it will. I'm seeing signs. I mean, people could put up a good argument. Matter of fact, I wouldn't argue with you if you said that that's what's causing a lot of the things that are happening right now. I can't argue with you because you could be right. But I haven't seen anything with my very own eyes yet. That I have not. So, until I do, I'll still, always keep an open mind at least. I got some news that I want to get into. Then I'll tell you more about our guest, and we'll go to a break. And I hope, again, folks, I'm what you want to call the sound Nazi. Really, I want to make sure because again, we had to make more changes today. So I want to make sure that I'm not coming through screaming and shouting at you. I want to make sure I'm not too low. I want to make sure that the guest is fine and all that stuff. So I hope that in the chat room you'll give me reports tonight and let me know how everything sounds and not if it's good enough, that's no good. Okay, I need to know that it's really good. All right, so don't tell me that it sounds good if it really doesn't. Because we got to know, because we're making adjustments. And so anyways, tantalizing theory emerges after UFO sighting in lightning storm. This one caught my eye, and it caught my eye because Autumn and I had also seen something along these lines with a lightning storm. This whatever it was, came from that direction, from the lightning storms. We're getting electrical storms that night. So anyways, in this case, it says mystery bright orb appears and vanishes in a second. As storm clouds gathered over Oak Park, Illinois on the evening of July 13th, an individual videotaping an impressive display of heat lightning also captured something else streaking through the field of view. All right. So, let's see. Well, some are telling me the sound is very sharp and clear, and others are telling me that there's other things going on, so I don't know. I'll wait until I hear from Ira. Ira will give me the heads up. And in the meantime, I'll just keep going here. The image above, which is located with this article on News and Discovery, shows a bright glowing object quickly enter the left side of the video and they say that it moves swiftly down to the right, disappearing from view. I watched the video. Real interesting stuff, that's all I could say. And, it's definitely something out of the ordinary. And, it's posted for you to check out if you'd like. All right. So anyways, that one is linked up for you. Super head lice warning as scientists discover almost all species are resistant to treatments. As the new school term looms, parents will be alarmed to know that nits are increasingly resistant to the most popular treatments. Head lice is becoming immune to common treatments, scientists have revealed, meaning parents are fighting a losing battle with nits in their children's hair. So beware of super head lice, moms and dads, as you send your kids to school. And folks, bottom line is, right now, no matter how it sounds, there's not a darn thing I could do about it right this minute. So I'll have to wait on Ira, and once Ira hits me up on Skype, maybe we could fix whatever it is going on. I noticed that it was a little different than what it was, and I wasn't too happy with it, and I wasn't sure, but all right, so it's probably there's some distortion maybe. I don't know. Second Bangkok bombing day, explosive device thrown in the capital's river. An explosive device has been thrown from Bangkok's Taksin Bridge into the into a river, and police have not reported any injuries. Law enforcement said reports of separate blasts near a railway station are enormous, and it says that the explosion, because of believed to be a pipe bomb. This is all screwed up here, folks. I'm doing the best I can with it here. With people, sometimes they write these articles, and I don't know, they've smoked the good stuff before they did it. Anyways, they say it landed in the water in the river, believed to be a pipe bomb, and so here we go again, right? So Asia seems to be under attack a little bit here, and maybe Mr. Before It's News was right. So yeah, where is Ira? Okay, I'm gonna have to go all unpro for you for a moment here, and I'm gonna have to go and focus my attention to the chat here, and so where is Ira? I see him in there, but I haven't got word from him yet as to whether sound. In a minute, I'm just gonna go to a commercial and stay there until I know, because this is very distracting, and it's not how I do things. So, all right, so let's do that. Folks, we're going to take a break now. Who knows? We might be back. We might not. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera. There's an abrupt stop for you. All right, let's try something else here, and it should be okay now, I think. Now, how is everything now? And don't lie, folks, because I'm going to listen when I go on my break for real, so I'll know. What happened is we set this up today, and of course we didn't do a live testing. So instead, what we did was an Audacity testing, and Audacity a lot of times lies to you about how things sound. So is it good? Okay, I'm getting a couple goods. I'll tell you, folks, I am the sound Nazi. You've heard of the soup Nazi? I'm his brother, the sound Nazi. If it's not going to be good, I'm not going to do it at all. I mean, I'm not Kerry Cassidy. All right. Okay, so Ira, I'm looking at you here on Skype. How are we doing, buddy? Ira, he's there. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not looking at the chat, Ira. I'm looking at Skype. The chat's too far away. All right, so he's typing me. Yeah, the chat, folks, it's not right in front of me, so it's perfect now. All right, so that's what I wanted to hear. Okay, so there you go. Live radio at its best, at its worst, but nevertheless live. And let us continue then. Wow. All right, so where was I even? Oh, okay. Tweezer molecule can block HIV in semen, a study says. So, it seems like we're getting closer and closer to, at least a mainstream cure for AIDS. Dr. Colwell and others tell me that there are cures. Hydrogen peroxide drip, I was told, in an IV cures AIDS. There's a certain way it has to be done, but that's what I was told. A U.S.-German team of scientists say that they have successfully tested a tweezer-shaped molecule which can be effective in preventing HIV transmission. This molecule called the CLR01 has been presented by the researchers from the University of Pennsylvania in the United States and ULM in Germany in a study published in the journal eLife on Tuesday. So they're saying that this can effectively not only block the virus, they say, but it can attack the virus and kill it altogether. So pretty big breakthrough here on the HIV front. Trump is diving migrant debate among GOP fields. This is one that's there. I'm going to spare you most of the details, but what I would like to get to is near the end of this article, and I actually listed it in the news and Discovery as this part is laughable because it really is. A debate over harsh immigration measures could mean an even bigger headache for Republican leaders who are desperate to attract more Latino voters. Oh, so basically, don't say nothing, don't do nothing, leave the borders open, let everybody walk all over us because we want their votes. See, and this is why I really, right now, I'm pulling for Trump, because he's pulling no punches, he's saying it like it is, and I agree. Each and every person who has entered this country illegal needs to go. They need to go back home where they came from and do it the right way, like many others have done. It's not fair that people go through the paperwork and do it the right way, while others can just jump across the border and get away with it and get amnesty. That's not right. That's sending the wrong message, and I'm all for it. And then people say, oh, but you'll break up families. No, you won't. They can all go together. And then no families have been broken up. Everybody's happy. That's the way I see it. Hey, look, he said it best. He said, you either have a country or you do not have a country. We have a country. We have laws. Those laws have been broken, and something needs to be done about it. That's it. I don't want to hear the argument about, oh, we're all illegal. No, we're not. No, I was born here. Okay, and you might say, well, some of them were born here. Yeah, but their parents came here illegally, and they purposely did that so they can gain citizenship. And you don't reward people for that. You send them back home. That's it. Does that sound mean and rotten? Well, if it is, then I'm mean and rotten, because that's how I feel about it. Animal Magic. This one you gotta see. This 5-year-old girl, amazing video. You can go and click the link in the article. It'll take you over to the video. A 5-year-old girl who can hypnotize creatures with the stroke of her hand. I watched this girl. There was a chicken, a rabbit. She had a dog, a lizard, like an iguana, and I think there was one other animal. And she got all these animals. All she did was touch them a certain way, say a few words into their ears, like, but she said it loud. She talked to them, and bam. I mean, they were like totally paralyzed. You could actually see the dog shaking a little, but he couldn't move. All they could do was breathe. It was just amazing. Maybe it's one of those star children. You never know. She hypnotized these animals. I find that fabulous, absolutely fabulous. I mean, I want her watching my kids, right? When they were little, anyways. Folks, that's going to do it. Now we will really take our break. So I do apologize for the issues. It happens. We made more adjustments today, and I had a feeling there was going to be an issue tonight. So, but it's good. Thank you, Ira, and thank you everyone else for giving me the thumbs up in the chat. Folks, this is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera, and this time we really will be back. So hold on with us.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. You've heard Dr. Leonard Horowitz and experts urge you to avoid deadly vaccinations and illegal operators selling stolen OxySilver and OxySilver copycats. You've heard experts tell you about suppression in alternative medicine and confusing propaganda in healthcare and the truth movement. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver. Liquid Dentist GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use Green Harvest as a great-tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight. And Zeolove, and natural clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from theCureShop.com. Including OxySilver, the world's most powerful silver hydrosol. Electro-energized to put risky injections, toxic antibiotics, and deadly drug pushers out of business. OxySilver is covalently bonded to water. Unlike any other silver product using the frequency of chlorophyll 528, what Dr. Horowitz explains is pure tone love, the universal healer. NASA originally developed covalently body silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and more. OxySilver works three ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than all leading silver products, and without any risk. OxySilver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy OxySilver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy OxySilver, GI Flora Pro, Green Harvest, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with two P's. CureShoppe.com. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
The LNM Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information, and subscribe today. Information on becoming an LNM subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you.
Become a late nighter without the late nights. And subscribe now to help Late Night in the Midlands bring you the best guests with the best information.
The L&M Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com.
And as we have been programmed mentally, intellectually, one must be aware of this being programmed like a computer.
Programming that we are constantly assaulted by throughout our life conditions us, it programs us to a particular worldview.
The project is literally the secularization of the world. New secular or worldly order.
A new study says the news media have been pushing a gospel of godlessness on the American public.
Because this media is here and designed to make sure that they ask no critical questions. To make sure that the only thing that they are concerned about is having a good time. And so that is why today, one of the struggles that you have as young people, that when you want to do different events and you want to talk about real issues, you have the struggle of many of your peers who've been so conditioned in this matrix that they would rather party than listen to the truth. They would rather party and shop and go to the mall than to stand up for issues of justice. They're stuck in the matrix. But you have the responsibility of helping to wake them up.
Now, how do we know that there's a God? After having been thoroughly brainwashed. And how do we know that there's a creator?
On the east coast of the United States, from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera. To talk to Michael Vera, dial 803-317-2264. Or around the world on Skype. Just use Skype ID Late Night in the Midlands.
All right, we are back. This is Late Night in the Midlands, and we're trying to stay alive here too. So help us out if you can. Donate and subscribe. And like I said, folks, there's probably gonna be some mistakes here within the next couple days, tonight, tomorrow, whatever. I'm getting used to some things here. And experimenting, I guess you could say. So bear with us as we make these minor changes that I can't get used to. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about our guest in a moment. First, the website, www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and by all means, inform others. And Ira, thank you. He says it's great now. So apparently, what happens is when you're recording on, say, Audacity, it's got to be down much lower. See, they're just different, and that's what goofed us up tonight. So I'm glad that's figured out, and we can move on here. I could tell you a little bit about Bob Fletcher. But please, again, make sure you get over to the website. Check it out. We put news stories, which will appear on the homepage down near the bottom every single day. Sometimes we miss out on the weekends because, even we need days off. But so anyways, who is Bob Fletcher? Well, he's a businessman. He's an investigator, a film producer, a radio personality, author, federal witness, whistleblower, patriot. He's all that. And a bag of books, folks, because he's going to, the information that he's going to share with us tonight, well, you can write a lot of books. There's that much. I don't even know if we'll get to everything tonight. But one thing we are going to get to is, well, this planet. Call it Planet X, call it Nibiru, call it what you will. But there are some pretty prominent people out there who claim it is there and that it is coming our way. So we'll see where we go tonight here. We'll take your calls as well. Bob Fletcher, I'm going to bring him on the air with us here in just a second. doing all this on my own, folks, so I got to kind of talk you through it as I go. Otherwise, it's going to be dead air. All right, so here we go. Bob Fletcher. He's been here before, by the way. All right, we're just waiting on an answer, and we'll get this. Okay, I see what happened. All right, I got you now, Bob. That's yeah. I was a little confused. I couldn't hear you, but now I can.
Uh-oh.
No,
all right.
Well, welcome aboard. I appreciate you coming back on Late Night in the Midlands, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you tonight.
Thank you very much, and we've got a lot of new things I want to talk about, but basically it's all the same, our same consideration, our serious problem out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Wherever you would like to start would be just great. I'll tell you, I would like to say this. I seen this on your website, the crop circle picture, which I've seen that crop circle before, but what I haven't seen before is how you laid it out. There's another picture below, and it pretty much shows the constellation and what you're looking at in that crop circle. And I think you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I do. Of course, that's one of 800 million bits and pieces, but yes, I do. Yes, yeah. The bottom line is, and actually, there are several others that I don't feel schooled enough to really get into that too much. But nonetheless, there are several that are all kind of did indications of the Nibiru coming back in.
Okay, well, yeah. Well, I'll just say this: that crop circle. I mean, people always say, well, where's the warnings? Well, that kind of looks like one to me. So, but like you said, it's one of the many. So, wherever you'd like to start with this topic is okay with me. Go for it.
Okay, and unfortunately, because I've been doing this. Not necessarily with this particular subject, but my investigative stuff. I've been doing it for so long that I found out that it's best for me to give a little bit of background. I hate to do that because it takes time, but I won't take too much time. But people have to, so that they understand, in my case, I've been trying to, chasing bad guys, basically, in government for so long. But there are people that don't know anything about it, and then there are people who know a little bit, and then there are people who know a lot, and then there, that kind of thing. So we kind of try to bring everybody up to speed in the first few minutes, on the entire situation. bring them up to speed on 100 years of corruption, and then we'll go from there.
All right, let's do that then. All right, so 100 years of corruption coming up.
Okay. All right. Well,
we are live.
And I'll try to. You give me a heads up on when you're going to do your breaks, and I'm completely cool with this. It's about my 4,000th radio interview, so I'm almost understanding it now.
All right, great. Well, we're live now, so we can go right ahead. We don't have a break coming up for almost an hour now. So
okay, very good. But it's really a pleasure to be back again, and because we've spoken, and what has really occupied my time now for, it's been about over 3 years, but it even went back farther than that. But so, as I was saying, so that everybody kind of understand, this is even something that I would not have even put my name to this without having an awful lot, without being totally convinced that, in fact, this is a real situation. I'm not and I don't mean to demean anybody that's a reporter or anything of that sort, but I'm not like a newspaper reporter or a guy that's been doing journalism for a long time or anything of that sort. I ended up becoming, actually 30 years ago, I was accidentally, if you will, dragged into the corruption of government. And I was overwhelmed when it happened, like so many other people, when they really find out how generally corrupted the government is, right straight across the board. And it's a very interesting story, as I mentioned, going way back. We can't spend the time logically on giving those people that don't know me at all, but I'm going to try to give you a very brief situation. What happened was I had a business. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I had a business in the 80s, and I was expanding that company. It literally was very simply a toy manufacturing company. It was totally not related to politics, not related to journalism or exposing government corruption or any of those things. I was just trying to make my first $1 million, the American dream, as they say. Yeah. And what happened was I merged my company with a company and a particular fellow that headed it up. His name was Gary Best, and he had he was owner, the president owner of a holding company, I guess is the best way to call it. And he had several companies under his belt that he owned under these variety of corporate names. But the bottom line was, my deal with him was to merge with one of his companies that delivered products to the 7-Eleven convenience store types of locations, a variety of things. And several of my toys he wanted to put into those stores, and it was a real good deal for me on the outside. Unfortunately, I never got paid, so it turned out obviously not to be a good deal. But what happened was this gentleman, using that term very loosely, this criminal son of a gun was in fact an arms supplier, an arms dealer supplying weapons to all of the small wars generated by the United States covert operations. He was representing the CIA, the National Security Agency, the Defense Intelligence Operations, the Air Force Intelligence, and a whole variety of the secret covert operators that actually ran all the wars around the globe. And lo and behold, they wanted to recruit myself. They wanted to utilize my toy company as a covert front, giving the reason for his people to travel into a variety of different countries, do different things. Actually, in my case, he wanted me to be a covert messenger, delivering information and bringing information back from a variety of locations around the globe. At that time, they were doing the Iran-Contra stuff. That's the Nicaraguan rebels and the revolutionary group there. And the operations were also later to be discovered not only unconstitutional and wrong, and they had, of course, the big investigations, for those of you old enough to remember it, the big investigations called the Iran-Contra inquiries at the congressional level. I became a federal witness in those investigations. Then, following that, because all of the people that were involved with this guy and doing all of the what they call supplying weapons, the suppliers of the weapons, they were military generals that had all run the Vietnam War so many years earlier. And, of course, they had carried on their arms delivery operations for covert operations in up to the future, and they were still doing it, and they were doing the same thing. Many of these operations became, to my shock, they were directly involved with narcotics, where they would actually deliver weapons, exchange half of the payment would be in narcotics, and actually fly the narcotics back to the United States, delivering it into the streets with mafia cooperation, as a matter of fact, but fly it literally back to our Air Force bases, our own air bases, unload the drugs off of the aircraft that were U.S. government-supplied airplanes that had delivered delivered the weapons down to some place, wherever it was, and brought the drugs back. So it was, to my amazement, what we literally had, quite obviously. And then I was to find out that it had been going on for years and years, 20, 30, 40, I don't know how many more years ahead of me, but it had been going on for years with our intelligence community doing the jobs that we hope they're doing, covert good operations, but they were a handful or half of it at least, if not more, were criminal activities involving the exchange of narcotics, and this was going right out with the nod and the approval of the President of the United States. So that's how and I was blown away. I witnessed it. I saw it. They were selling multi-million-dollar aircraft out of my toy factory. They were moving missiles, Hellfire missiles, through my toy factory, making the sales and all of that for operations all over the globe. And so that's what got me into it. And I preface all of that so that you get a general handle, an idea, and an understanding that, again, I'm not just some writer that met a few people and interviews a few people. Go ahead, excuse me.
Oh, no, I just...
If you had a question.
Oh, no, I was just laughing there for a moment. Because,
okay. If you have a question, as a matter of fact, feel free, but otherwise, it's best if I kind of just roll along with this and fill in the holes. Usually, before the question might come to mind, I'll probably answer it.
Oh, you bet.
So the problem was, well, I don't know. I guess it was really a problem. I ended up being brought back, not just after the Iran-Contra mess with all of these characters. I ended up having people from the Pentagon, from the CIA, the FBI, the ATF, and every other variety of, let's say, hopefully law enforcement agents contacted me, and congressmen and senators and the intelligence committees and what have you at the extreme highest levels, coming right out of the Capitol building and all the congressional buildings. What would happen over the next few years that turned into 30 years? But what happened is people would call me. A senator would write me a letter, or I would be called or contacted one way or another, what have you. And a lot of this was, by the way, before we even had the Internet. So they were, being sent to me by fax machines and things of that sort. But the questions were, coming from those folks, was over and over again, somebody would say, Bob, what do you know about this name? What do you know about this operation? Have you ever heard the name of this operation? Or do you have any idea, have anybody, this guy and that guy and that guy that was involved with your toy company, had you ever heard that connected to this other name over here? So I ended up supplying investigative research information that much of it became top secret or classified secret after I delivered it to them. In other words, it was something I had given them that was so hot, so important at such a high level that they would classify it after I delivered it to them. And basically, I was originally a toy manufacturer. Now, not to shortchange myself, I had, and part of the reason of how I had been targeted to be merged with this operation. By the way, it was called Vista, VISTA was the name of the corporate entity that had all of these operations going on. And later on, I found out they were involved with so many things, including the blowing up of the Oklahoma building in Oklahoma back there, the federal building back in 95 or whenever it was. But they had their hands in many dirty deals, way beyond what I ever would have expected. So, I became a guy that was an investigative researcher with people, became friends of mine, congressmen, senators, Central Intelligence operatives. One friend that became real close, and she was a woman a little bit older than myself that had been in the CIA and connected all the way back to Ronald Reagan's time. And she literally wrote speeches and did analysis from the Central Intelligence direction for the Reagan administration and many other people at that level. So when as I moved forward, as I say, got dragged into just a huge multitude of extraordinary investigations and inquiries. So a few years ago, and I won't go over all of them, but it even involved being actually contracted by Manuel Noriega's lawyers and doing requests. I was interviewed by the Senate Intelligence Committee. I was formally requested to put together a report on the Oklahoma bombs by the Senate Intelligence Committee, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so that's where it all started from. So a few years ago, I was used to chasing money, chasing senators and congressmen, et cetera, that had, in one way or another, were stealing, put it in blunt terms, and diverting or fraudulently getting a couple $1 million for a new house they wanted to build in Tahiti for themselves, or a new place, something they wanted to do over here, or a business they wanted to get into. But we're talking about the theft of millions of dollars usually, and $1 million is a lot for an average guy like myself and like most all of our listeners. But it became commonplace, so that if somebody called me and said, "Hey, have you ever heard of the so-and-so operation? It looks like they were involved with stealing about $10 million every couple of months for something," and those things became commonplace. But 3-4 years ago, I guess at this time, it's almost 4, I started looking into the disappearance of several $1 billion. And I couldn't figure out where it was going originally, but then it even moved up from several $1 billion to several $1 trillion over a long period of time, all going in the same direction. But the big problem is, as you can commonly realize, when you start talking about a few billion, or it moves into trillions, and you have a problem to figure out where could money like that go, because you have to realize that, like, even in these giant drug and arms operations. Now we talk about arms contracts that go out for the creation and study of new weapons and the manufacturing of weapons and aircraft and rockets and explosives and all of those high-level type of weaponry. It's easy. They can take a few million out of one little location and transfer it over here, or a couple million here and a couple million there, and pretty soon they've got a pretty good little bunch of money to use in any manner they want. But if you get beyond billions and start talking trillions, and then you really have something strange going on, even for the commonplace thieves out of Washington, D.C. And by the way, there's nothing partisan on this at all. My discovery was that the Senate, the Congress, and those and assigned people that are, let's say, at the ambassadorial level, the assigned people, the people that are not even elected and are appointed into these high positions of the administrations with each presidency, those people, there's no keeping track of it. It's so profuse. So as I looked into it, for one thing, I discovered that the gold was all gone out of Fort Knox. Absolutely gone. And a lot of people don't realize that foreign nations have huge amounts of gold. I'm talking tons of gold on storage or deposit in the Fort Knox establishment, which is, in fact, of course, overseen by the Federal Reserve System. The Federal Reserve System, to most people's surprise, is nothing to do with the United States government. It is a private group of banks many years ago that bamboozled themselves into a position of being the overseers of all the production of money for the United States. They are the overseers of the gold in Fort Knox and the interest rates for the world coming out of the United States. And they are a separate entity with no connection officially to the government other than controlling the money in the entire globe. We had a couple back in 2008 and 10 when the money went bad all around the globe and they were having problems. A couple of countries, and one of the primary ones was Germany, came forward and they came back to the United States and they said, we have 1,500 tons of gold on deposit at Fort Knox. There has been no audit of that money, that gold, in years and years, and the last one was almost a joke. I think it was back in '74, and it was actually a joke. It was not a viable audit at all. They showed them like a broom closet filled with gold, and they said, oh, okay, it's all here. And that was the end of it. So they came over. The Germans needed the money. Their banks were on the rocks, and they said, we need to take a few thousand blocks. They need to take out at least half of their 1,500 tons, and they were told that they could not, and they would not get an audit. They would come back in 7 years. This was 2013. They said, you come back in about 7 years, in 2020, and we'll see what we can work out for you. That was their first response. So that was by our own Federal Reserve. And they told them that we're not obligated to give you or permit you to do an audit. So what also happened around the same period of time, Senator Ron Paul came forward, and he said the same thing. He said the United States people, the people that the taxation and the money and the gold in there belongs to the American public. We have to have an audit for the Senate and the Congress. They told him the same thing. They said, you have no permission to request an audit from us, so go away. So the bottom line was, and matter of fact, there ended up being several other amazing incidents I won't get into, but the International Monetary Fund of the European banks did the same request and were told to take a hike and go back to Europe, go away. And also then, just before, going backwards a little bit on this, just before the 9/11 synthetic terrorist event that took down the Twin Towers, the day before that, the fellow who was in charge of the Defense Department at that time, Donald Rumsfeld, came forward on a congressional inquiry, like one of the many that I was involved with, and he was asked a variety of questions, but he came forward and said, we have at the Defense Department, now listen to this figure now, he said, we have lost $2.3 trillion over the last few years that we cannot identify in our budget. The Defense Department literally had lost, according to them, $2.3 trillion. All right, so let me get back to my situation where I was trying to track some of this money, and which is overwhelming kind of a thing. And by the way, another point that I want to make is that in terms of having hands tied and what have you, people don't generally realize that senators and congressmen do not, most of them, with the exception of a few, most of them are not qualified, are not cleared to have secret or above secret or top secret clearances. So that when they sign off, the Congress and the Senate signs off on what they call covert or black operations, and it may be like one single contract for $1 billion, or it could be 5 contracts in one afternoon for $22 million each, going out to a variety of directions. they have no idea, in reality, where the money's going, how it's being used, et cetera, et cetera. All right, they're giving a general vague thing like something that will say so-and-so operations, advanced study on solar system tracking, radar, and sonar. And it'll say $64 million going to the Bendix company or someone, whomever. Maybe it's Boeing, maybe it's whoever. All right? So they sign off on that, but they don't have the permission or the right or the clearance for these top secret inquiries. They cannot find out where the money goes. The senators and congressmen that represent us do not know, are not privy to where these covert operative monies go to. And this is, by the way, not even getting into the criminal side, like the narcotics-connected operation to the Central Intelligence, et cetera, et cetera. Not even getting into that. But strictly on the what we might call legitimate covert operations. And a surprise to myself also was, although once I understood it, it became rather clear, but there are approximately 4 to 10 levels of secrecy above the president's office. So you actually have secrecy levels in our government where people cannot even look at a piece of paper, all right, relative to an operation, that literally are above the level of the President of the United States. So it is very possible that huge, outrageous, unbelievable, not just theft, but operations and uses of money that can never even be looked at by the President because it's an ongoing, let's say, a development of a weapon or a group of weapons, for example, that had started 2 years before the President came in. The President's going to be there for 4 years, and it may run the studies or whatever, manufacturing and testing of that weapon, may run 3 years past the President's reign in office. So therefore, you don't necessarily want them to know about it. All right? And I'm just giving a logical reason for an extraordinarily interesting situation. So I started snooping around. The problem that I had was, where did this money go to? And it's continuing to disappear in huge amounts. And it had been vanishing like this for at least 25, 30 years, since approximately, well, of course it always had been, but not like this in the big numbers, since about 83 to 85, which was approximately the time that I had been first exposed to all this criminality. So the question was, Bob, where does the money go? And do we have to take a break now?
No, we're not there yet. We still...
Okay, give me a heads up on that.
All right, we've got another half hour before we hit the break. So
okay, so here's where we were. We were in a situation where we understood there was extraordinary funds disappearing, but then I also understood and realized that you just can't money launder $1 trillion. I mean, if you had 60 billion, you can't money launder 60 billion, least of all $1 trillion. So where would that kind of money go? Where would the gold out of Fort Knox disappear to? All right? So that I mean, it's extraordinary. So I put feelers out. I started doing some research in a lot of different directions. And I had remembered one guy, a fellow that had come to me and sent me photographs and some films, actually videotapes at that time, back in 1995 in that area time, about underground facilities that had been built underground in the United States, and that he had made truck deliveries, and told me, you're not going to believe this, but I drove into a facility in Texas and came up, ended up making my delivery in Louisiana. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, I drove underground about 800 to 1,000 miles. And he's talking about underground highways. And he had sent me videos and photographs. At that time, I was up to my neck in other things of all sorts, and it was just something like, I didn't even understand this or what, it was just way over my head at that time, just trying to keep going with what I was doing, as I was testifying to the Intelligence Committee on drugs and on covert operations that were criminal, murders, assassinations, and as a matter of fact, I had completed an in-depth investigation for Congressman Sonny Bono. I had delivered it to him. We worked together, his office and myself, for about 8 or 9 months, maybe a year almost, and he finally contacted me, and I was living in California. They contacted me and they said, we're ready to go right after the Christmas holidays. We're going to have your inquiry that was directly related to the Central Intelligence and the White House connections into drug smuggling and assassinations. And I was elated. I was excited because the Congress, Sonny had set up to where he was going to have the ability to have subpoena powers, which means the people that were going to be brought up to talk about this couldn't just say, I don't know, I don't remember, that's above my level, or somebody else will have to answer the question. They couldn't sidestep it because they were going to be forced under the subpoena powers that they were going to be obligated to answer the question, or they could be put in jail until they answered the question. Commonly, subpoena power is not involved with Congress and Senate investigations. Sonny had set it up. We were ready to go. And 10 days later, he was murdered on the top of the ski slopes, pistol whipped to death, dragged up against a tree, and told by everybody that he had died with a stupid accident, running into a tree and banging his head on the tree and dying. That's completely a lie, and I did a separate investigation. If people are interested in that, I'm going to give you my address. I want to grab up a pencil and paper, write down my address. For those of you who are computer savvy, some of you, I know some of my older friends are not involved with it. I'm going to give a regular mailing address for those of you who are not on the computer and want to get some of our reports. They're all available on DVDs. They're all investigations that I was directly involved with and not externally looking at. But it's Bob Fletcher, Post Office Box 216, Bayview, Idaho. That's Box 216, Bayview, Idaho, 83803. 83803. If you want to write me a note, drop me a note, and I will return to you a little catalog sheet shows you what's available to you so that you can go over these things that I'm talking about. They're extraordinary, and they include people from the CIA being named by names with the biggest drug smuggler on earth, originally out of Cambodia and Burma, that area. Actually the military generals naming the names all the way up to the White House of the people that were buying the drugs back a few years back. It's a mind-boggling investigation. That's part of Sonny's inquiry. All right, but now you guys that are on computer, my website is it's Bob Fletcher Investigations.com. It's Bob Fletcher Investigations.com. Go on the computer and you can locate my website there. It's got, matter of fact, it has pictures and everything and a little bit of some footage of several of these projects I'm talking about. Now, let me get back to where we were at.
All right.
So this fellow tells me, and again, now this is going back into to the old days, so to speak, in '95. I looked at, pulled out pictures and films that he had sent, and son of a gun, what I ended up discovering, I'm going to speed forward a little bit here, what I ended up discovering that we had built around beginning in, well, some of them were already underway, but the big movement started about 1983, when apparently the news had come in to the White House that there was a Planet X, and there was a Nibiru planet that was headed apparently back in to circle the sun one more time. Prior to that, of course, it was kind of like, I don't know, nobody was sure. Some people that were astronomers thought it was out there. Some people didn't think it was out there. Some people had spent an entire lifetime studying this. But it was not until 1983 when the Reagan-Bush administration had sent out into outer circles of our own solar system the first infrared telescope that could send back pictures. And apparently that was the period of time in 1983 when it was realized that this planet was existence and kind of head back in. Now, the underground facilities had been started to be seriously constructed right around that period of time, and many things changed. Many things changed in Congress and in the Senate and in the projections and their budgeting. And they eliminated a lot of things from NASA. They changed and switched around. They started talking about a thing called Star Wars, which was to create some kind of weapons and telescopes and systems to keep track of. Actually, they were telling us it was the missiles that Russia or Red China might launch. The reality was that they were sending them out to do serious studies on the incoming potential of Planet X. So what we had was what apparently they decided to do, and this is where the money went. I figured it out finally, that track where it would go. They had constructed over the years 100 underground facilities in the United States of America. These are survival hideout locations for the elite, the criminally oriented elite of some of the highest levels of our government. And some of them are big enough to handle 8,000 to 10,000 people. Some of them are for smaller numbers, but nonetheless, most of them can handle 1,000 or 2. And of course, these are the wealthy, elite, separated personalities that control all the criminality out of our government. They have been supplying them via railroad cars, actually with train cars running into under the ground, into the granite mountains, if you will, into subterranean cities located all over in the most logical places in the United States. And they include a railroad system with magnetic levitated trains that can move almost at the speed of sound. They travel at 400 miles an hour underground. There's, of course, no intersections or anything, so they just, once you're in them, you just push the go button and zap. You're going magnetically levitated 400 miles an hour, so you're in your next location pretty quick. They have developed underground nursery growing situations underground where they not only have brought in foodstuffs, survival foods over the last years, but they have manufactured and created a manner by which they are able to grow food substances underground in many of the locations. And again, most of them, or many of them, are interconnected in the tunnels underground. Mm-hmm. Now, that's amazing to a lot of people. Maybe I think everybody sort of had heard stories about the underground operations and facilities at the Denver airport. All right, that's true. Many years ago in the 90s, I was down underground and had actually videotaped and taken pictures of some of the underground operations at the Denver airport. But that's not that's one location.
And
again, we have approximately... Yes.
Bob, where are those videos today? Because I know people would love to see them. Are they still around?
They're available, everything that I'm talking about. All right, now, this is going to surprise people, I guess. Everything that I'm talking about today, and I will be talking about here in the next hour or so, a couple of hours, is available. They are on the new DVD that I had finished and completed. The DVD we have, it's called Incoming. That's the title of it. It covers every aspect of the Planet X and every aspect, I can't even talk, every aspect to how they build them. I have films from the underground facilities. I have still photographs of the underground facilities, not only in the United States, but in Red China and in Russia. The Russians have several thousand underground facilities that were completed and ready to go, so to speak, in the the last months of 2014 and 13. They had finalized, for the most part, the building between 2010, which is when they announced they were going to do it. In 2010, they said they were going to complete 5,000 underground facilities in 5 years. And they had completed it in 2014, around that period of time. They have most all of them done. One of the ones in Russia is large enough to accommodate over 50,000 people underground. The Red Chinese have thousands of them also themselves. They have been putting together underground facilities at the same time. And the European nations, several of them are cooperatively have created underground facilities also. Here's what we're looking at, folks. The realization at the upper crust of the major nations of the world in approximately 1983, around that period in time. At that point, it was understood and realized that Planet X, Nibiru, or Wormwood, as it's called in the Bible, was out there, was real, was coming back, and they secretly, covertly have been constructing underground facilities around the globe. Now, a few years back, in 2012, the group of these basically it's kind of a mutual construction situation here, where they know we're doing it, we know they're doing it, et cetera, and each one is doing it for the salvation of the limited few aristocratic elite at the top of each one of these governments. Now, in 2012, they got together as cooperatively, a matter of fact, an interesting global thing. They got together and they built what's called a seed vault, SEED, a seed vault. It is in the Norway-Denmark area, on an island, actually. Just, I think it's closer. Actually, it is a Norway island in the middle of the Norwegian Sea there, between Russia and Norway itself. And they built cooperatively in 2012. It was finished, and it contains every known growing seed of, actually not just one, obviously, but there's billions of seeds in the seed vault, and it is a under the ground, into the side of a mountain, deep freeze vault for all the growing seeds of the globe, so that they can reseed the face of the earth after Nibiru or other galactic type of a problem was to come. They didn't want to tell anybody it was Nibiru specifically, and they're not going to tell anybody. But the bottom line is, now if you have a computer, you can go on and you Google Seed Vault Norway, and you will get it, and you can see it yourself, the picture, location, all the rest of that. Now, all of this is also in our DVD. The DVD that I'm talking about, by the way, this complete study on this thing, everything that you would ever, that I'm not going to answer tonight because there's not enough time, but every question that might come to your mind, I'm going to guarantee you it's answered in the DVD set. And this is huge. Now, the DVD is 2 DVDs of 2 hours each. It's a 4-hour library of information on this subject and literally answers every possible question. The involvement of the Vatican. The Vatican, by the way, came on board a few years back, and they had, under their name, they went into Arizona, and the Vatican had built one of the largest infrared telescopes that was available at that time, not counting the ones that the United States government had secretly put up on a couple mountainsides around the globe. But the Vatican owns a infrared telescope in Arizona, and by the way, the title of it, the name of that, this should bother the average Christian out there. The name of the telescope is Lucifer, and that's the Vatican's name for the telescope itself.
Yeah, and now somebody told me that, well, they just happened to rent a telescope by that name, but I'm thinking, why would the Vatican have anything to do with anything with that name, right?
Well, that's the point. And the point is, I don't want to get into, the Vatican has been involved with every major covert activity coming out of the CIA since 1938. They were involved with things with the Nazis and whatever that you wouldn't even want to know about. Nobody would ever want to admit. I'm not going to get into that at all. But the bottom line is that is the name of it. And if there's one that's available now for retail people to buy called that, it's just taken off the name of the ones in Arizona. Again, go to the computer, write in Vatican Arizona Telescope, Lucifer, and it'll come up. Period. All of this stuff is completely there, and everything I'm telling you is completely shown, including internal underground pictures of the facilities in the United States. Not all of them, obviously. All right. Now, I do have an interesting section on it. There's people that said, how in the world do they build these? How could they build these facilities so fast that you're talking about, some of them like a few thousand in a couple of years in Russia? How did they do that? How's Red China doing all of these, the extraordinarily ones that they have? All right? We have drills. Actually, now the globe, the whole, everybody, Russia, Red China, and the United States and Europe, they all have them now. We have drills so large, and I show a whole bunch of them in the DVDs, the pictures of them digging the holes themselves. The bottom line is we have drills that drill into the side of a mountain and can back out, go a couple miles a day, back out, and you can drive an 18-wheeler, and in some of them you could drive 2 18-wheelers next to each other in the size of the hole that they make with a single wipe of these drills. An amazing one that I show in our DVD set is the one that the Chinese have. It's their own. They're making them themselves. And of course, half of them, this stuff, they just steal what we've done and go ahead and do it. Some cases they do it themselves, and we steal their ideas back from them. But the bottom line is the Chinese have one single drill that literally is 3 of these gigantic drills next to each other across, all right, 1, 2, 3, and plunges into the side of a mountain and digs these tunnels that are big enough for 4 18-wheelers to drive into the hole after they've dug them out. It's mind-boggling. The size of the underground facilities done by the Russian and the Chinese, and probably a couple of our own, is big enough to where they are storing small fleets of aircraft. The Red Chinese have 3,000 nuclear weapons, full-size missiles stored inside and underground, and entire battleships and submarines stored underground in these facilities. Now, that's not necessarily the primary point of it. The primary point is salvation of the limited elite at the highest level of the governments of these different nations, including the United States. I have one notification. As a matter of fact, let me backtrack a little bit before I get into that part of it. Okay. And then I'm going to get into Nibiru itself, some of the information about the returning of this of the planet.
All right, and we got about 5 minutes for about 3 minutes to a break.
All right, good. Well, what I will mention at this point in time is that what I found out they had, and now you understand when we're talking billions of dollars just to build these underground facilities, and billions of dollars to put mag-levitated railroad cars in it, and billions of dollars doing these literally connected highways and facilities sufficient to keep thousands of people alive for an unknown period of time, maybe 100, maybe 50 years.
Well, it makes sense where the missing money,
absolutely. Gone. And so that was the aha moment when I realized all of this, and then there's still an awful lot to come. But when I realized that this literally all existed, and that it has been underway for so many years. By the way, the same period of time, approximately 83, 84, whatever, was when Ronald Reagan made that historic speech on the floor of the United Nations, where he said, I wonder how all of our nations would come together if, in fact, we had an extraterrestrial threat to the globe. And this was done on the floor of the United Nations by Ronald Reagan. And everybody kind of turned and looked at each other like, what's he talking about? This is exactly what he was talking about. And a short time after that was when everybody was notified, by the way, you guys better start digging holes for you and your family because this is what's going to happen. Now, as far as I'm trying to hit on some of the most important things because we can't cover everything.
Right.
Oh, some of the other things. Well, I want to save the rest of the Nibiru and the some of the fine points about that for a little bit later. Okay. Oh, the big deal is this: during a period of time, let's say going back straight 10 years back, many companies that retail dealers and sales of survival foods, freeze-dried foods, the dehydrated foods, and the foods that can last for 10 or 30 years. Many of them going the last 5 years, couldn't get orders. They couldn't get they were ordering, but they were being backlogged. They were being told they were being back-ordered. They were being told, we can't ship that for another 90 days. We can't do this. Because the U.S. government had contracted and had obligated 95% of everything they produced. Every major company that did freeze-dried products were shipping to the government because they were filling the underground facilities with the survival foods that were going to last 10 or 30 years. And you couldn't even companies like Walmart, which is like that's a big company, and they had contractual obligations, and because they sell it on the floor, retail. But if you go through there, you'll find there's only a few cans. You go to a Walmart store, and they have this whole section there, and it's like they got like 35 cans and a few boxes of freeze-dried stuff because they couldn't get it, and they're still not able to get it like they want to. Because, in fact, it's going underground to the underground facilities in the United States. Now, right away, I'm trying to think of the random connections because I'm going to get into the serious part about Nibiru when we come back from the break here.
Okay. All right, because we're about due here, Bob. So we better.
Okay.
All right, so let's hit that break, and then we'll come back and talk some more. So just hang on the line. We'll be a few minutes. Everybody, my guest is Bob Fletcher. And we're talking about Planet X. I've given him the floor. I've allowed him to give the backstory and work his way up to it, because that's what I do. I mean, he's got some information to share with you. I think you should get it, and you're getting it uninterrupted. How about that? So we are going to take a break. I do want to make a quick comment, however. We had a gentleman in our chat room a little while ago. He's a gentleman who's been in our chat room for quite a long time, somebody who's listened to the show, even been a guest. Nobody's safe. When you put links in my chat room, this is my chat room. I own it, okay? When you put links in my chat room for a guy who has done nothing but put disinformation out there about me and many others, and I ask you not to promote that in my chat, and you can become a wise ass because of it, guess what? I don't need you. I'm trying to tell people this. If you're going to be a moron and you're going to follow information like an Ed Cherini, are you kidding me? You're going to follow an idiot like that? A guy who has absolutely no brains, he's an FBI puppet, and then you're going to put that stuff in my chat room and expect me to just take it? I don't, okay? So it's not censorship, it's intelligence, okay? So you can call it whatever you want, but I'm not going to allow you to promote somebody who attacks me. That is not happening. Ed Cherini is a shill, and I've exposed him on Late Night in the Midlands before, and I'm done with that scene. If you want to go over there and think the whole world is a Hollywood actor, then you go right ahead, but you're not going to do it in my chat room. So that's it. It was nice knowing you, my friend. This is Late Night in the Midlands. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Become a late nighter without the late nights, and subscribe now to help Late Night in the Midlands bring you the best guests with the best information.
You want the truth? Late Night in the Midlands knows you deserve it. That's why we make it easy for you to listen at www.latenightinthe-midlands.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and by all means inform others. Folks, we're not your average radio show. We cover everything. Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Joshua Vera, and I wanted to inform you that Late Night in the Midlands is offering limited on-air advertisement. With 30 and 60-second spots available, or inquire about placing your banner ad on the LNM website. Or go ahead and package a deal, but either way, get the attention you deserve and join the LNM family. Contact us at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com. Again, that email is mv@latenightinthemidlands.com.
Hello, this is Lisa Marie, here to tell you about Oxy Silver, legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. Use 528 Superfood as a great tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight, and Zeolove and Natural Clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from CureShop.com, including Oxy Silver, the world's most powerful silver hydrosol, electro-energized to put risky injections, toxic antibiotics, and deadly drug pushers out of business. Oxy Silver is covalently bonded to water, unlike any other silver product, using the frequency of chlorophyll 528, what Dr. Horowitz explains is pure tone love, the universal healer. NASA originally developed covalently bonded silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and more. Oxy Silver works 3 ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than all leading silver products, and without any risks. Oxy Silver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy Oxy Silver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy Oxy Silver, GI Flora Pro, 528 Superfood, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with 2 P's. Cure Shop. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com.
In many cases is the idea that the aliens are essentially trying to create a hybrid mix of themselves and ourselves. They're interested in our DNA, our genetic makeup. Body. And beyond that, they're interested in our personalities, our affection for our children, our love for one another, a whole kind of range of what we think of almost the most human characteristics we have emotionally.
We have to face up to reality that, for example, the UFO phenomenon is a real phenomenon, no question about it. So anybody who debunks the UFO phenomenon itself don't know what he or she's talking about.
Hey, Michael, I promised you I'd call in for a little bit, and here I am.
I know that I bashed Bush the entire time. I wasn't even allowed on Coast to Coast there for a while because I was told not to talk about Bush.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Late Night in the Midlands. We cover everything. Hey, folks. Do you love Late Night in the Midlands? Do you miss shows because of the time of night? Do you wish you could listen at your convenience? Well, we can help you out with that one. Become a late nighter without the late nights and subscribe. Become a late nighter for just $5 a month. That's right, $5 a month for the paranormal, the unknown, the known, but most important, the truth. go to www.latenightinthemidlands.com and subscribe right away to become a late nighter and help keep the LNM radio network on the air.
On the east coast of the United States from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina. You're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera. To talk to Michael Vera, dial 803-317-2264. Or around the world on Skype. Just use Skype ID, Late Night in the Midlands.
Just in time, this is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera, and I had just enough time on that break to go and block about everything I could possibly think of. So people who don't like to be told how things are, even though, you know, I'm right. I'm right a lot. I'm certainly right about Ed, and I'm certainly right about not wanting that disinfo in my chat. So I had to go and block some things because people just don't, they can't take rejection. They'll continue to come back, and, you know, I've been a great guy for months and months, and I'm always a great guy when I let people be guests on my show and do all those things that I do. But as soon as I lay down a law, as soon as I say how, you know, somebody's disinfo, they don't like it, you know, all of a sudden, and then I stop them from promoting that garbage. Then all of a sudden I'm a bad guy now. So, but I'm used to it. It's okay. I don't mind. You know, say what you will. But no, that guy can't be promoted. Not in my chat. Nowhere where I am, because that's just, it's ridiculous. I mean, we might as well be promoting Barney and all that good stuff too. You know, I love you, you love me stuff. We might as well be doing that if you're going to promote Cicchini. Whatever his name is there. If you go, but hey, if you do go to the guy he's promoting, you go check out that website, or even type in, I don't want to promote the guy, but even if you type in, you can see he's got down there where I'm an actor, and that, yeah, I'm Adam Walsh's kid, or I am Adam Walsh, he says, and that I didn't get my head cut off, and now I'm playing the part of this, and the guy's in a fantasy land. You're going to promote that stuff? Come on. Let's get real. All right. So anyways, at least you're listening. So I thank you for still tuning in. But anyhow, we're going to get back to things that are much more important, like my guest. So let's do that. Bob, we are back. And so you wanted to hit the Nibiru area.
Right.
And I think we're ready for that.
Say that there's so many parts to this, see, and when I got into it again, I had to really move carefully with this. I'm a guy that, we've got phone calls on a regular basis from senators and congressmen and intelligence people and blah, blah, blah. And been directly there, and I can't be putting my name on something that's just plain old, is too far out. And originally, if somebody just said, hey, what do you know about Planet X? Let's say 5-10 years ago, I would have just said, I don't know anything about it. I'm not an astronomer. Don't even ask me. I'm a researcher, and a few things may have crossed my paths a few years back that mentioned that or was involved with that. But I'm not an astronomer, so don't even don't even ask me a question. If I can't answer it, I'm not gonna make something up. And so, for me to really put this together, and by the way, I spent 3 years on this thing, an unbelievable amount of research, and tapped into people that I knew. Some people that spent 30 years of their lives being involved with it. So, but with the Planet X Nibiru thing, like you say, the way I discovered it was starting to chase money that was illogical. The amount of money that was vanishing. And there's even more. As a matter of fact, I want to point this out because there's other areas. I want to get into the astronomy, the science, and the religious side, and the proof, evidence, documentation on this that was the straw that broke my back and forced me to obligate myself to put this thing together, this report. All right, because it's entirely too I was familiar with the politics of secrecy, which has just eaten up the United States of America. People have no idea the stuff that's going on with our money, which is only part of it, but with our lives. I mean, these people are keeping things secret that are. I mean, unto itself, it's a sin. And I don't pretend to be I'm not a preacher, not a student of a seminar, but it's mind-boggling what they've been doing with under the banner of secrets, top secret, and above top secret, and classified. It's disgusting. They're stealing all of the blood. It's like a vampire. They've drawn the blood out of the United States of America, and we're just beat to death with this thing. Now, there's a whole multitude of things that are interconnected with the Nibiru starting to come back through. Now, according to those people who have studied this for a career, all right, have made a lifetime work out of it, and there's many of them. There's a few groups and organizations, but a couple of them float to the top as being people that are not fools. They're not stupid, and they are astronomers or scientifically oriented enough so that they actually could speak intelligently on this potential problem. All right, to describe Nibiru itself, first off, it is supposedly, and this is analytical astronomy studies of gravitational effects, things going on out in the farther reaches of the planets and what have you, that it's approximately said to be 5 to 7 times the size of Earth in dimensional size. It has reportedly 4 to 5 moons of its own circling it, and it goes out. Now, there's two different thoughts on this, and both organizations, groups, etc., have my respect, and exactly which one proves to be correct on what I'm about to say. Actually, it doesn't make any difference, but there's a little kind of a dispute on potentials here, and that is that there's Dr. Sitchin, who wrote many books about the planet of Nibiru from his deciphering of clay tablets done 4,000 years ago, and they were Sumerian clay tablets. There was thousands of these. He went over couple thousand of them himself. There's 22,000 of these clay tablets that were written like a diary in the Sumeria 4,000 years ago. They were written like a regular day-to-day diary of the events taking place in Sumeria. Okay, and they describe the passing of this huge planet that blocked the sun for a few days and then went back and disappeared back into the farthest reaches of outer space. And the description of all that he does, that's one very interesting source, but it's only one of the antiquated, old scriptural logging in or registration of this thing. The Tibetan monks have also written thousands of years ago the incoming and the passing of this planet. The Chinese, one gentleman, his name's Gil Broussard, and I fully respect his work on this. I think it's probably the best, and he has spent years and years doing this and studying it. He literally went to China and lived there for a while so that he could get into the old libraries of the emperors of China, going back over 1,000 years. And when he went back and did his studies and spent living there for a while, he found out that they had logged in one of the passages of this Nibiru on a day-to-day basis, or like every 3 days. They logged it in. These were astronomers 1,000 years ago at the command of the emperor. And if you made mistakes as being a serving astronomer for the emperor in China 1,000 years ago, he cut your head off. So it was not like these people were making stuff up. This was seen, it was written down, it was logged in and registered in at the angles and all of that, and they were already studying and following the stars. Going back several thousand years, there have been many cultures that were involved with stargazing, if you will use that term, but really at an astronomical, poorly informed, obviously they didn't have the education that we have now. They didn't know exactly what they were looking at, but they certainly could describe it, and they could describe the events. And Gil Broussard had gone and done a magnificent relationship, not only of these other foreign scriptures, the writings of emperors of 1,000 years ago, but the biblical relationship and all of these in the Bible that describes this to the T, including, of course, in Revelations, which describes what will take place when it comes passing close by. It's not going to hit the earth. It is that's not going to happen. But the gravitational effect on it and the fact that it will be dragging a tail behind it of an extraordinary length, and the width approximations, the width of the diameter of this planet coming in, going around the sun, and then back out, we will have to pass through on our normal rotation around the sun. We will pass through that tail 2 times. Now, before I get in much farther on that, I want to tell you the reality of what's already taking place that is the effect in my school and other, how many thousands there are out here, other school people that have studied this whole effect of this thing. All right? I put in the DVD. I predicted when we put the DVD out first time, the double DVD, when we put that out, it was made first time available approximately the first of this year. So it's 7 months ago. And in it, I did predictions with everybody said, oh, you shouldn't do that. See, if you make a prediction and it's not right, then you look like a jerk. I said, well, if you look at the whole thing, you're going to realize I'm not a jerk, and whether they all come exactly about as it appears scientifically it will, well, then it's going to happen. And one thing was, I said it was going to affect the weather, that the weather on the entire globe, starting last year at the beginning of this year, was going to be never going to be the same again. It's already going to affect the weather in a very short period of time.
And Bob, we got a question from the chat. This listener asked, does Bob know if the Anunnaki or other inhabitants are coming with this system?
Okay. No, I don't know. I will say one thing. In part of Sitchin's writings included, of course, the talking about the Anunnaki, that it was part of the Anunnaki putting together the clay tablets themselves, etc., and that these were supposedly an alien group coming off of possibly one of the moons that's traveling with and around the Nibiru or Planet X. I don't know, but I will. Let's. If you read any of Sitchin's works, you realize basically what is said in there, because a lot of people said, well, maybe the aliens are going to help us, maybe they're going to prevent it, maybe they're going to change the direction or do something like that. They did not do anything 4,000 years ago to assist us. I don't know anything about that. I'm not a mystic, I'm not a psychic or any rest of that. I'm dealing strictly with factual events.
And I appreciate that.
What Sitchin implied was that those persons that were on the earth and did their kickstart on humanity, so to speak, that they, realizing Nibiru was coming back, they got in their spacecraft and got out of town. They left, and they did nothing to help anybody. Okay? So those people that say, oh, I think maybe they're really good guys, I do believe, absolutely, there are probably so many alien planets with life on them, you couldn't even begin to measure them. And they have done mathematical potentials of it, and it's beyond, the numbers are outrageous. There's just too many planets for anybody to say that we are the only people occupying this, because we're pretty stupid so far at this point in time,
right,
in terms of humanity.
And I there's some discussion going on about good ETs, bad ETs. I think that, while some think that there's some good who want to help us, I believe that there are also those that are helping the wrong side. And
we don't know what side that is either.
Right.
When you look at it from a total universal point of view, we don't have enough information to make even a good judgment on it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do.
Now, I think there's all kinds of good guys and all kinds of bad guys out there, and I think if we just take a sampling of the humans on the face of the earth, we got good guys and bad guys. We have some people who are so despicable that it's unbelievable. We're watching some things going on with ISIS that is so disgusting that it's hard to even imagine. Okay, and then we have people that, as far as I'm concerned, never did something on purpose that was wrong in their lives. They never planned to do a bad thing in their lives. And I think you're going to take that same sampling, whatever that percentage is on Earth, it probably is throughout the universe. And also you have to remember there's more than likely, gosh only knows, a gazillion planets with people 10 million years ahead of us, and probably the same number of unknown planets with a life on it that are 10 million years behind us. And someplace in the middle is probably where Earth falls. Now, let me get away from that and get back to some of the interesting stuff.
Okay.
The bottom line was, in the DVD, I said one thing's going to happen unless I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, I would admit it. The bottom line is, I said that earthquakes and volcanoes were going to increase like crazy. All right, they already have. When I did studies on this, I found out also that the planets, the 9 planets, or whatever number we have now, starting from Pluto coming in, have been heating up. The temperatures being measured, it's been altered on all of them, changing in varying degrees. The scientists don't know why, or that's what they're telling us. They don't know why the atmospheric storms on some of these planets, whether you call it an atmosphere or not, the surface storms and volcanic activity and things of that sort are also taking place on these planets, and they don't know why. A couple of them have switched their north and south poles, or have altered, have deviated, or have deviated in their normal orbits, are wiggling, jiggling in their orbits. They don't know why. All right? Now, as Nibiru comes back in from the very farthest reaches out, all right, as Nibiru heads back in, it's striking and doing things like a bowling ball going through bowling pins. And in the DVD, I said you can watch for an increase in the an increase in the deaths of animals and fishes and all of that. Remember, that's been going on for about 4 years. Birds falling out of the sky. And unless you study that, you don't know how many, and on a global basis, how much of that's going on. It has increased progressively. The numbers are in the millions of fish and birds and big animals and small animals just plain dying. They're calling it this thing or that thing, but they really don't know. And what they don't understand is that a lot of it is electromagnetic force variations in our solar system being caused by Nibiru headed back in. Now, I put on there also, put a little section in it about the fact that the glaciers are melting like crazy. Big time. They're melting from what appears to be predominantly underneath the glaciers themselves. All right? They are, there's a brand new study, they're only out a few months, was finalized, it's a couple of years, and they came back from the Antarctic after being down there 3 or 4 years in succession. They came back and they said the melting of the Antarctic snow, ice, frozen cap of the Antarctic is at a non-reversible stage. All of it will melt. It is melting 6 to 8 times faster than it ever has before. And it is, all of that water is going in and causing variations in the temperature and in the saline, the salt count in the ocean. It's varying the salt count as well. Now, the combinations of heat from under, listen what I'm going to say now, from under the ocean volcanic activity that has cranked up in the last 2 years, the heat variation with that has changed our weather patterns completely. Not only is it doing that, but the water that I was talking about coming from the ice caps, predominantly the Antarctic is the biggest one of concern, has raised the water in Miami Beach on a regular high tide every day. And listen what I'm saying now. Every day in Miami, the water from high tides are now going as much as 5 blocks into the city of Miami Beach. And a year ago, give or take a couple of months, they went in and put millions of dollars of water pumps in Miami Beach to pump the water. Every high tide automatically kicks in to prevent it from destroying multi-billions in dollars of businesses because the water has raised that high on the coastline of Miami. And this thing is not even close to being here yet, folks. And it is a long-term, it is a long-distance effect of the planetary effects of this thing within our solar system. Now, what I want to get into, that everybody always wants me to get into this early, but I'm not going to do it. And that is describing some of the potential, not only actual effects when it gets close and as it comes in, and what the worst of it will be. And I have to mention something. Many people, including astronomers, that that are at the level where they know about this and may shoot their mouths off about it, have been terminated. And it includes, a couple years ago, a group of astronomers who visited, had a meeting together with themselves to discuss this in, I believe it was Switzerland. And they were in a gondola, and the cable broke, and 12 of the most important people doing studies on this were dead in about a 15-second fall over the Alps. All right? We have a lot of other people that are at the highest levels of intelligence and potentially have been removed going back to the 80s and the 90s on this, where they may have known the plan for the underground facilities for the limited few and the plans for those people to go underground with our taxpayers' bucks, close the door behind them, and tell us lots of luck, and we'll send you a cable. The bottom line is anybody that come forward and has the credibility. See, now I'm just a guy out here. It's easy to make fun of me or whatever, and say, oh, whatever, what does he know and all that. That's easy, all right? But if someone like Princess Diana knew about it or somebody like that, and all of a sudden they were gone, the heads of the CIA, the major elderly heads that had retired, have all died under suspicious circumstances, starting with Bill Casey in the 80s, who was at the desk in 83 when Ronald Reagan would have been presented with the intelligence information on Nibiru. He retired, he didn't get to retire. 1985, he was in the middle of the Iran-Contra investigations, told a friend of mine, mumbled to my friend who was literally in the offices up there. He said, I'm going to talk next time I'm up. I'm going to clear I'm tired of all of this stuff. I'm going to clear the slate. The following day, he drank his coffee and had a stroke and never regained consciousness. And by the way, they gave him as procedural medicine when he arrived at the hospital. They gave him a lobotomy, so he would never be able to talk again, even if he survived. And of course, he didn't survive. He never got out of the hospital. 2 other Central Intelligence agents, the chiefs of CIA had retired, and both of them died under circumstances very extraordinary. There's a long list. I'm not going to get into all of it. A fellow who had become a friend of mine had spoken, had done speaking engagements with myself alongside of me in several different on several occasions. He had been talking. He actually was an engineer that had worked on 13 of the underground facilities himself. He went out, was talking. Same period of time back in the 90s when I was on the road a lot. We did several meetings together, public meetings, exposés, if you will. And his name was Phil Schneider. He came to me at one point in time and he said, Bob, I want you to have some of my books because I'm afraid they're going to kill me before too long. I'm positive. He said, I've got people been following me for the last month or so. And actually, while we were there, I think it was in Denver, if I remember correctly, there actually were vehicles that were behind us and people showing up at restaurants that certainly were tailing him. Anyhow, about 2 weeks, no, it wasn't that, it was 2 months, about 60 days after the last time we were together, he was murdered. And they said he had committed suicide, which was ridiculous. Anyhow, Phil Schneider was murdered. The guy that used to build, he did the design. He did the geological designs on the best way to build some of these underground facilities during his career. And when he came out, finally had to come out and talk about it, they eliminated him.
Yeah.
I want to get back to the big point that a lot of people want to know. I'm not going to do it yet, as a matter of fact. It's another important point I want to get to. That is the people have been wondering why the sheriff and the police departments all over the United States, and it goes back to the 90s, because I was aware of it in 95 at that point in time, when I was doing a lot of testimony with Congress and Senate, that there was something fishy going on. There was all of this armored personnel vehicles, 50 caliber automatic machine guns, hand grenade launchers, bazookas, flamethrowers, and of course military protective gear, but also huge amounts of bullets and weapons and what have you, going to the sheriffs and police departments all over the country. This is weapons that normally they don't use, don't need. I mean, they love them. You know, it's a typical police officer in Omaha, Nebraska. You know, if you said, "Hey, our 27 guys, you're going to be able to get an armored car with a machine gun on it." Whoa, okay. So they love that stuff, and it's been available and been shipping in, and they made a big stink of it here a few months back, a year ago, when the first of this racially oriented dispute between police and the black community was surfacing so severely, and it's still here. And a lot of that was the shock when the crowd control was being done with the local police department driving their armored personnel vehicles with their machine guns and hand grenades into the community. And everybody would say, well, what's with that? Okay, let me explain what that is. All right? And by the way, it includes drones for spying and all the rest of that as well. Yeah. And they're working now on small drones that can carry automatic weapons as well. So you could fly a drone into a crowd and pop off a few people and have it disappear, and it would be hard to figure out where it even came from. But here's the deal. And people ask me, they say, when are they going to tell us? When is the government going to tell us about this thing coming back in? This intergalactic or this celestial problem coming in, and when are they going to tell us? Because we got to know, right? The answer to that is no. That they are never, ever going to tell you that it's coming in. That will never happen. Not from America. Now, whether somebody else blows the whistle over in Russia or Red China or something like that, I don't know. I don't think so. And this is being as much a secret as they possibly can maintain, the fact that it is coming back. And here's the reason. Stop and think about this for a minute. And this is the reason why the police stations around America now have more equipment than they know how to utilize. The moment that it becomes official, particularly if it was announced by a person of interest, of power, if it was officially announced that, let's just take a date, and they say 90 days from today, a planet's going to pass close by, and it's going to cause Noah's floods all over again on the face of the earth as one problem. But it'll be coming in as a gravitational effect way beyond the moon. It's also going to potentially flip the Earth 26 degrees on its axis. It's also going to block the sun 2 different times. First time coming in, second time going out. It's going to do that twice, and it's going to wreak havoc on the face of the Earth. Now, the moment that happens, if somebody tells you that, especially if it's, my fellow Americans coming from the president, that kind of a speech, the entire globe will be lit up with riots and chaos beyond your wildest motion picture you've ever seen. Every person that's 1/2 an inch off from being a good Christian, a good humanitarian human being, anybody that's missing a few parts is going to go crazy in the streets. And unfortunately, when you go around the globe, that's an awful lot of them. And the amount of chaos would be beyond our imagination. So, if the elite have spent all of the money they could possibly steal into these underground facilities, if they can't get down into them because of rioting that's so totally out of control, if they can't get down into their underground facilities ahead of time, what's the purpose? They're not going to be a single one of them's going to get into their little survival hideouts. All right? So they're never going to say it at all. These police and sheriffs had signed on with a little simple agreement that said if they are given the permission and have the ability to, at a discounted price, get all of these weapons, all these exotic things, and the armored vehicles, and the electronic weapons to control crowds. See, an awful lot of it is crowd control stuff. That's what it is, all right? And all of it is that they are obligated that if there is a national emergency with martial law, that they got to come on board without belly aching and jump on with the Homeland Security and the presidential mandate for martial law when and if that happens. Now, nobody's being told that that's going to happen. They're just being told that if it happens, you've got to take these exotic weapons that we put into your hands and bring them along to help out with the crowd control. So, number one, that's why they have been putting this stuff in these police forces way ahead of time, back in the 90s, and training them on the equipment, all the rest of it. And also, one of the reasons why
That was loud. Sorry about
excuse
that.
me?
I say
okay.
that was...
It's also one of the reasons why over 1 million, actually, originally it was 500,000, but now my understanding is passed to 1 million. 1 million of coffins were purchased a couple of years ago by the CDC in Atlanta, all right? The disease control, under their banner, they bought over back then, several years ago, actually 2-3 years back, they bought 500,000. Now it's up over 1.5 million, is my understanding, of coffins designed, plastic coffin containers designed for cremation and designed for 4 possible people to fit into them. Maybe 2 children and a couple of adults could fit into a single, and they're patented specialized coffin containers that are built so as to not put out excessive residue when they're put into a crematory oven. We have pictures of 500,000 of these at the CDC's location in Atlanta, Georgia. That's included in, of course, in the DVD I was talking about. Now, let me get back, move forward a little bit on the problems that we are going to have as this thing. I covered some of the stuff that has already taken place. As we speak today, there's something like 35 to 45 volcanic eruptions taking place, full-blown eruptions while we speak. All right? There are earthquakes. The numbers of earthquakes are amazing. We had one 2 days ago in San Francisco. A fairly good size, 2.6, I think is what it was, something like that, big enough to shake people and rock and roll. The earthquakes and volcanoes are interfaced. There is a stress going on the entire surface of the crust of the earth and has been increasing on a regular basis. What that does, and there's a great new study, one fellow that's actually been able to study it and understand it well enough that when an earthquake takes place in 3 locations, it causes a given amount, obviously, a given amount of stress on the surface. And this fellow has now figured out by triangulation that, in fact, in 3 places where there are earthquakes, that there will be a volcano in a sort of like a triangulation situation with the stressing of the crust. So what he has figured out that after a given amount of time, like 2 to 5 days, something like that, with earthquakes at A, B, and C, he can show point D where a volcanic activity will regenerate. And many of these volcanoes are very old, 1,000-year-old volcanoes that have been dormant for years and years and years, and now, because of the stress situation, movement of the crust itself and the plates, all right, we're getting earthquakes which are generating then volcanic activity. There's a volcano a few months ago that started to blow 400 miles off the coast of Oregon. It's under the water. It is changing the temperature of the water. It is changing the fish direction, which is causing sharks. For now, all of a sudden now we have shark bites all over the place. Sharks are attacking swimmers. They're doing that because they are in a place looking for food, because the fishes and the krill and all of these surface fish that the bigger fish eat have been moved. They are looking, because of the temperature and the salt variations, they're going to different areas under the ocean. Now the sharks are showing up in different areas, and they're eating people. And they're trying to figure out, gee, why are the sharks all of a sudden doing all of this? It's all related to the altering of the seabeds and the variation of temperature and saline account in the salt account in the oceans. Now, I'm trying to hit on most important points of all of this stuff and make sure I get it in. Now I'd be glad to answer any strange questions people might have.
Okay.
My friend Gil Broussard, who I said had done such an extraordinary analysis of all of this, he has thousands of hours behind the telescope, and he has, again, years in terms of doing biblical and scriptural studies. And he has found that going back, there was a point that I didn't finish to make last hour when I was talking about the size of the orbit, of whether it being 3,600 years or being less than that. There are 2 points of argument. Gil Broussard feels that it's more like a 350, 360 year cycle, an orbit of 360, 350. Now, if I'm misquoting him on anything, I apologize to Gil, but I don't mean to do that. But to the best of my recollection, he's at the 350, 360 years. Now, the reason is that he's gone back into studied geologically, astronomically, and biblically, as well as scripturally, in terms of other strange scriptures that may not normally be something that people look at. And he's found that all the information of given periods of time of the global effect at one given point in time, and the description of the foreign planet, the Chinese call it the visiting planet, or the red flying dragon, as they watched it go around and back out and then go out again, and that's their description. Of course, in the Bible, it's written as wormwood, and in the Revelations, the description in all of the Revelations that describe what will take place as this thing comes around and darkens the sun for a couple of days, and etc. And Gil has done the mathematics on this, and again, he feels that the 3,600 year figure was a figure that actually came from Dr. Sitchin's analogy and his reading of the clay tablets. However, there was not the use of, it may be a simple reason that there's a mistake here. 3600, 3,600 years. All right, there was no use officially of the zero. There was no zero numerically 4,000 years ago. It was 1,000 or 15 or 2,000 years ago when it was first introduced as a figure. In other words, they always would have said 300 times 6 times 4 plus 9 or something of that sort to come up with a full figure. They did not have what was just a zero for numbers. So the possibility of over the period of 2,000 or 4,000 years of that zero erroneously being put on there at the end of 360 might be where the 3,600 came from. But Gil's research brought him to come to the conclusion we were looking at a orbit of about 350, 360 years. And that would mean that this planet has swung around 360 years ago, and then going back another 360 years and another 360 years. So in 3600, it would have been here 10 times, and making it circle. It causes a tilt of the Earth of 26 degrees, apparently. This has been written scripturally several times that was what happened. And it can be done, so it can be indicated by looking at the star locations and the constellations of people that had written down when it came around last, and you can go back and look at it. One of the most amazing, which I include in the DVD, one of the more amazing discoveries a while back was the discovery in Germany of what is called the sky disk or the star disk. This was created, if you will, manufactured or whatever you want to call it, but it was created during the Bronze Age in Germany at an excavated site similar to the Stonehenge. And it was an astronomer's location where 3,000 years ago they used to keep track of the movement of the stars. Now, what this is a 12-inch bronze disc. Actually, it's a little bigger than 12. It's maybe 14 inches across. And it is highlighted, and a drawing is done on this bronze disc, and it's done in gold. All of the drawing is done in gold itself. It's one man or another. It's impressed into the bronze disc itself. Now, it indicates the blockage of the sun by a large planet, and it has several constellations drawn, all the star locations and constellational locations drawn in this particular, I call it a drawing. Actually, it's a, whatever you want to call it, maybe an engraving. It's sort of like a shield, as if it were a military shield, but it is not. I don't believe it was done that way. It's actually if you will, a like drawing on the sides of a cave, but it was done at the time when there was one of the passes, close passes of Nibiru. Now, a lot of people have looked at this as different things, but I carefully explain where the experts had come up with the concept that it is, in fact, a drawn picture of Nibiru's passing in Germany. This was discovered in Germany. Now, when you take modern-day astronomical computer programs, you can feed into those programs the location of stars and the location of constellations. And when you do that, you can come up with actually what amounts to being the exact date and time of the engraving, when it was done. By just putting it into the computer program, it'll tell you when it was done. Well, apparently, this particular engraving, which by the way, I've shown this in both film and in still pictures. This engraving was done 3,600 years ago at 8:30 in the morning. And that's how exact we can be because of the star constellation locations. They actually are able to come up with the actual morning time of it, and apparently it was about, I think it was 8:30 in the morning when this thing was done. Now, what's strange or interesting about it is it shows a constellation on the bottom of this thing that should not have been seen in Germany at that time. So that was an incongruency. But then upon checking other activities on the face of the globe at that time, it was discovered that the movement of Nibiru, its close passing by its gravitational effects, had literally moved the Earth 26 degrees on its axis. So we expect and anticipate the movement of the Earth by 26 degrees on its axis when Nibiru passes by. Now, by doing the mathematics on so many different times and places and the events that had taken place during those times, Gil Broussard, and I completely respect his work, has come up with an approximate time that he expects for Nibiru to pass once again close by. Now, if you want me to hold, I don't know where we are on time for you on your break, because I'm going to tell everybody when the apparently the Nibiru will pass by.
Yeah, let's take the break because we have one more, and then we'll come back and finish up. We'll have about a half hour to go, and you could get to the when it's passing by. So hang on with us, Bob. Folks, this is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera. Bob Fletcher is my guest. He had a lot of information to get through. I've pretty much just given him the floor to do that, and so there you have it. But it ain't over yet. We still have a half hour to go. Weather permitting, we've been getting hammered here with one hell of a storm. I see the lightning through the shades. And the thunder is rattling my cage over here. But so far, so good. Knock on wood. It seems like we might get through this. And I've learned that believe it or not, folks, I had no idea there's actually a hurricane that could be on its way directly towards us here. And so haven't experienced that yet. But anyways, a whole lot going on. And Planet X, it's on its way, according to some. If you have questions, you're more than welcome to call in after the break, or you can hit us in the chat room, private message those questions, and this way I could get to them. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Need your L&M fix? You can find us on social medias everywhere, like our Facebook fan page, Late Night in the Midlands, or our Facebook group, the L&M Radio Network, our other Facebook groups, The Last Frequency. You can also find L&M on Twitter at L&M Radio, and all of this and more can be found on our website at www.latenightinthe-midlands.com. Again, that's www.latenightinthe-midlands.com, bringing the truth back to talk radio.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell, here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver, Liquid Dentist, GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use Green Harvest as a great-tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight. And Zeolove, and natural clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from theCureShop.com. Register for our free cooperative at healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy OxySilver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with 2 P's. CureShoppe.com. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
Hey, folks. Do you love Late Night in the Midlands? Do you miss shows because of the time of night? Do you wish you could listen at your convenience? Well, we can help you out with that one. Become a late nighter without the late nights and subscribe. Become a late nighter for just $5 a month. That's right, $5 a month for the paranormal, the unknown, the known, but most important, the truth. Go to www.latenightinthe.midlands.com and subscribe right away to become a late nighter and help keep the LNM radio network on the air. Imagine, if you will, a man, a media, speaking the truth. Imagine a show that covers UFOs, ET races, the paranormal, and the not-so-normal. A media that speaks the truth no matter who or what it leads to. Imagine, if you will, a media that covers everything. Folks, you just entered the LNM zone. LNM, keeping it real when others don't. The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com.
On the east coast of the United States from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina. You're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera. To talk to Michael Vera, dial 803-317-2264 or around the world on Skype. Just use Skype ID Late Night in the Midlands.
Get back where we started from. Well, you know what? We just may end up doing that if what my guest says is true, and that is if Planet X comes through and knocks us for a loop, then yeah, we might get right back where we started from, no doubt. And we're getting warnings here on the old, and I do mean old TV. I've got an old one here that I throw on when I want to do things like, I don't know, weather alerts. And they're saying that a strong line of thunderstorms and ground lightning is occurring, and that you should be on guard here. So if you're in South Carolina, especially if you're in the Columbia area, there's a few other areas being affected by this, then watch out, because here comes the fun. So we're going to get back to it. The website, www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Become a member, be informed, and by all means, inform others. And folks, don't forget, help us out with donations and subscribing. That's what keeps us on the air, unless, of course, you hate us. And if you hate us, then my voice just makes you hate us even more. And I don't mind that. So let's get back to it here. All right, my guest is Bob Fletcher. Bob, you know, some people probably don't like what they're hearing tonight, but you say that this is fact, and you know what? I was saying at the beginning of the show, I couldn't argue with people who make the case this is what's happening right now with everything, why everything is so whacked, I guess you'd say. But anyways, you wanted to get into Nibiru, where it is, how long we might have before it gets here. Some are telling me December.
Okay, yeah. According to actually, the only person that's done what I would say, you know, really, I shouldn't say the only person, but there of course are thousands of people that are astronomically more skilled than I am. I'm not an astronomer. The politics, you see, all the politics of this mess, it constantly comes in the same direction. It's pointing towards something of extraordinary situation is headed our way. These people that normally manipulate money to enhance their own wealth had all of a sudden changed and predominantly started spending our money to just preserve their lives and to be, the seed vault thing. Again, see, it's not just the United States, and it's not just one or two strange things going on for the last 10, 15 years. It's a multitude of strange things, and they all fit into a situation that apparently the wealthy elite have built underground hideouts throughout the globe for themselves, and when the time comes, they're going to be gone. And the money's already gone. You know what? There's another little money thing that should bother people, and not a single person in the political arena has even gotten into this like they should have. And that is, for 20 or actually more than that, but at least for 20 or 30 years, the federal government has not earmarked hardly any money to repair all of the infrastructure of the United States of America. They've hardly allocated anything. They throw $1 million here, $100,000 on a little deal here, but all of the electronic generation of this country is at jeopardy just from an EMP, force, electromagnetic impulses coming from the sun. Now, Nibiru has caused the sun to react already. It's already reacting crazy with the holes generated on the face of the sun. They don't even understand them. Extraordinary, strange pulses that have never happened before, things of that sort. That's taking place. I believe, and others believe, it's, again, just because of Nibiru. The weather is totally changed, all right? But the scientists have gone in before Congress 10 years ago and said that one good electromagnetic force from the sun can wipe out all of our generating ability, and it could shut us down for a year or 6 months. Can you imagine no electricity for that period of time? I mean, none at all. Holy mackerel, folks. That's caveman time, right?
Well, yeah, that's going back to Little House on the Prairie days.
That's right. Now, what happened, scientists came together and went on the floor of the Congress and requested, I think it was only $10 million for taking some of our primary generation, electrical generation points and insulating them appropriately to deflect a big electromagnetic force. All right? I think it was $10 million. I mean, that's nothing. Okay? Nothing at all. Trump could do it, right? Okay. Out of his lunch money. Right. All right. The point is, why have they spent nothing? Almost, I'm saying every, and that's not correct, almost every bridge, every underwater tunnel going into New York City, every bridge over the waters of San Francisco and over to New York, and every small tunnel and every small electrical generating system in America, and every small bridge in the United States could be condemned today if they were properly inspected. But, of course, they can't do that, so they just let everybody run over them. But they're not fixing them, folks. Why are they not fixing anything? All of that stuff, all of those basic bridges, tunnels, railroads, railroad bridges, automobile bridges, almost every one of them are over 50 to 75 years old. And they are about to fall apart. They're not spending anything. Why are they not spending anything? Because they've taken that money along with everything else and put it down underground in their facilities, because if this thing's coming in, why bother fixing them?
Yeah, the infrastructure in this country is horrible. I know here in South Carolina it sucks.
No, it's the whole country, and it's so bad. I traveled around the country. I even was the candidate and I'm going to say it on a Democratic ticket, but it had nothing to do with the Democrats, but I happen to be on the Democratic ticket. I ran for the Congress in 1990 in Orlando, Florida, running against a corrupted congressman down there. And I did actually did extremely well, considering I had no money and no background, so to speak. But I ran and came within 9 points of taking the seat. But that's another whole separate story. Matter of fact, see, what people used to say, if you're worried about the government, why don't you run for Congress? Well, I did. Okay, so back at you, I guess, is the way to answer on that one. All right, now let me get to Nibiru. Apparently, because of the historic scriptural information, and I say scriptural using that in terms of old script, Himalayan monks on the top of the mountain, biblical writings of every sort you could imagine, the corresponding dates and time of the passing of Nibiru has always been, as I'm about to say, visually seen. And by the way, one reason we can't find it real quick right away, people always say, why can't I see it? Why can't we see it? Because it doesn't generate its own light. So until it becomes close enough to reflect the sun at the farthest point out, until it's close enough to reflect the sun, we will not see it. It is infrared. It requires infrared telescopic vision to see the thing, okay? And it's also it goes way out into what's called the Oort cloud. You can look that up if you want. OORT cloud. It goes way out into the Oort cloud, which is a huge bunch of junk floating around in outer space that encircles our entire solar system. And it's a big bunch of space junk. Okay, it's called the Oort cloud. You can look it up for yourself, so just another one little point. Okay. The point is it goes way out, so it's not easily seen. The other point is there's an argument as to whether it is on what they call the plane of the ecliptic. That is basically the flat plane, so to speak, the flat plane that all of our planets circle around the sun. If you sitting in a chair, you put your right arm out to the side, your left arm straight out, that would represent the plane of the ecliptic where most of our planets circle with us around the sun. If you go down about 12 inches with your hand, that would be approximately 30 degrees off of the ecliptic. Many of the astronomers are saying the possibility exists that Planet X is on a plane of its own, orbiting on approximately 30 degrees off of our ecliptic. So it would be theoretically, for simplistic terms, it would be coming in like from below and coming up on an angle, passing up around the sun, and then going back down on an angle to be out again, not on the same plane that we are all on. Okay, just a little scientific question that's out there.
Well, so instead of it going from, say, right to left, it would actually be going from up to down, like through the discs?
Well, yeah, see, you really get into complexities because it's hard to get a grasp on all of this anyhow, because when we draw it on a piece of paper, it's just flat. Right? We got a flat piece of paper, you got a television screen, it's flat in front of you, and you say, okay, over here is a big yellow thing, and that's the sun, and here are 7 or 8, 9 planets, and they're all going around the sun, and that all looks real simple. The reality is, from every possible, if you going from the sun, from every possible degree imaginable on a 360 circle, things can be traveling on that circle. So it becomes, some kind of an extraordinary thing. You can't just say, it's not like you can just say to your neighbor, say, look, just go out there, look at the moon, go over to the left about a foot, and there it is over there, okay? Well, if it's coming from behind the sun, there's a period of time that we would never see it. It's a very interesting point I'm going to make, and then I don't want to lose the rest of the time here. Where are we at? What do you have? How much time do you have?
We've got about 10 minutes to go, and I do have a couple questions from the chat as well.
Okay, good. I want to expedite this then. Remember the Russians had that meteorite that came in and exploded and blew windows out?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Everybody saw that, watched it. It was amazing. Nobody in the globe ever saw that coming. Never did they see that coming until it was passing through into our atmosphere and blew up.
Even NASA didn't know?
No. No one knew. The Russians didn't know. The Americans didn't know. NASA didn't know. It came in like a surprise package from, quote-unquote, behind our visual point of the sun. They were waiting for another one, as a matter of fact, that they knew about. And they knew all about it 5 years ago, that it was going to come in and pass and go around, and then this thing came in, boom, as a surprise. So when people say, oh, well, you can't see it, like one very prominent radio guy that interviewed me, is an old friend of mine, that actually said that I was the reason he got into talk radio, one of the most popular guys on talk radio, all right? He doesn't believe this, and he says, if I can't see it, I don't believe it's there. Okay, well, you can measure the IQ from that one. Anyhow, all right, so, but moving back to it, it's going to be seen in December for the first time. Now, Mr. Broussard says this December. It will be seen in December. It will take January, February, March, as it gets bigger on a daily basis coming inward. And then in March, and I'm quoting Gill, the 26th will be its closest point of pass going around the sun. And then it will go around and go back on out. He is feeling and again, this is because measuring all the previous times in history when it was said to be seen, and it was written in and logged in, and where the sun was and where the earth was, where the stars were, etc., etc. He feels the most likely time is this December for the first sighting of Nibiru by telescope, and then visually by your own eye, if where to look.
Okay.
If it does not happen this December, he says it would most likely then not to be a concern until the next December. It appears that in all of the writings of all the times, including the Bible, of when the stars were blocked and the showers of meteors and the water flooded like the floods of Noah and all of those things and all the rest, not just biblical but other scriptural identifications, it appears that it was always December, January, February, March, and April, and then back out again and be gone for at least 350, 360 years. Now, it could vary in the amount of destruction. The problem is, number one, the flooding, because of gravitational effects. It could be like Noah's floods, yanking the water right out of the seabeds. It could, according to old writings, it could, in fact, tilt the Earth 26 degrees on its axis. When we pass, now again, you can visualize this, if you will. Visualize the sun as a basketball or whatever, and take a golf ball, being it's not quite that big, but the basketball and a golf ball. The golf ball being the Nibiru's coming in. When it comes in, it will take us one hour to pass through the tail, and that's by taking the measurement of the diameter that they expect it to be, and taking the Earth to go through it and actually. What happens is it approaches the sun, it will go around behind it, it will already be gone around behind it, and we will then come around and catch up to the tail, and we will go through the tail. We'll take an hour traveling our normal speed going around the sun. We will pass through it, remembering that the Earth is also revolving, so it will expose whatever a certain amount of geography to the frontal exposure of all of the space junk that's coming behind it, like the tail of Halley's Comet, which, by the way, is 24 million miles long. We have no idea how long this one is, but we will only go through it once. Then it will travel around and it will take 155 days at its passing around, and we would go through it a second time when it has gone on out, the Nibiru had gone on out into space again to be gone for and leave us alone for a while. We will pass through it one more time. So we have 2 periods of time separated by approximately 5 months, which, by the way, happens to be biblical. The biblical description of it, of wormwood coming around, and 5 months of tribulation beyond our imagination, and then calm after it departs. That's all biblical stuff. And again, Gil's feeling that if it's not available, not seen December, January this year and coming on in, then we're probably okay for another full year, because it is on the time of Passover between March and April when the problems existed from it previously. Now, if I can answer any questions, I will do so.
Absolutely. One question was, are you aware of photographs of Planet X? I guess people want to know where they can go see it, where they can, where they should look. Like NASA had that block on it for a long time, or Google Earth did, or
Google Earth.
Sky.
You're talking about the location to see it?
Yeah, like if...
No. And there are a few people that are saying, "Oh, it's here and it's there and it's everywhere." The reality is, here's what I think is going to be the best signal for us. Okay, and again, I said this earlier. In the United States, and I believe they will do it in the other parts of the world, there has to be martial law in place before December. Okay, the feeling again being that by the time it becomes visual and seen, in reality, where you can actually say, "Oh, there it is," and it's getting bigger every night, and it's coming inward, and it takes December, January, February, March. It's like 4 months for it to be in a real problem area. The first thing to go out are going to be satellites and that type of thing, electronically. That'll be the first problems. Then we're going to have meteor storms, and we're going to have stuff falling into the oceans that's going to cause tsunamis. And by the way, I have to point this out too. Just a couple of weeks ago, the fella who is considered to be, I always get his name wrong. Yeah, I think his name is Katu, Dr. K2 or Katu.
Oh, yeah.
He's Kako or whatever his name. I apologize to him. He was on ABC, at CBS, and CNN, all of them, just less than a month ago, a couple of weeks ago. And he said that they are anticipating off of the coast of Oregon. Remember I told you there's already a volcano. They're keeping that quiet. They're saying that there's a big, strange, unusual blob in the water that's heating up the water. Believe it or not, that's what they're saying on television, a blob. It's not very official. But they don't want us to understand what's going on. They don't want you to put 2 and 2 together. Okay, Kaito was on all the major networks. He said they are anticipating a movement of the plates seismographically off of the coast there, the west coast near Oregon. That's where that volcano is already bubbling. They call it the Cascadia Zone, and they expect it to have an earthquake there under the water and generate a tsunami that will totally destroy the entire west coast of the United States, from Northern California to Alaska, completely wiping out Seattle. and they are anticipating it, and it was on television with him explaining it and talking to the people about it. And, of course, that was a quickly vanished, that son of a gun. But that's in that same place where I said the volcano is already bubbling and already heating the water and changing our weather. Now, can I answer another question?
Yes, please. The next question is, I have a couple more here we'll get to. The next one is Jade Helm. What's your thoughts on it? Sure.
Jade Helms is a practice for martial law. I knew nothing about it when I did this. When I put this thing out, finished it up in the first of this year. I knew nothing about it. I have to tell you, not only is that a practice dry run, but they did one in 1984. It was called Rex 84, but it's more serious now because of what I'm talking about. And I will also tell you that what upset some people, and they didn't talk much about it, Red China had a duplicate exercise about 3 weeks ago, practicing controlling the public in the time of an excessive, uncontrollable public. And that's what it is.
All right, great. And last but not least, does your guest recommend a underground bunker, and if so, how far down?
Okay, here's the point. You do not have the time, and you couldn't do one if you started now, but there are underground bunkers. I don't sell them, but there are underground facilities that will cost from $300,000 to $1 million, and you can get an entire floor. They're completely finished. They're done. They're in atomic silos, the old atomic weapon silos, fully converted, very luxurious, with that foods and all the rest of that. You can look these up yourself. Look up public silo underground facilities. If you do that in a computer, you'll find 3 or 4, and you can go and buy one. If you got $1 million, you can get one.
All right. Well, sounds good, Bob. We're out of time. I thank you for joining us, and people can go to your website, obviously, and learn a lot more, right?
Yeah, go on the website. Matter of fact, I have colored pictures of the underground facilities. I have a list of every location of the known underground facilities. Well, I'd maybe say most of the known ones. And by the way, it's and again, you folks can write me at Post Office Box 216 at Bayview, Idaho 216. The zip 83803 for the people that are not computer savvy. Those of you who are computer savvy, go on my website, Bob Fletcher Investigations, and all the information's there. I highly recommend get the DVD package, 4 hours. We pay for shipping. It's $24.95, and it's an entire library. It has all of the answers to your questions. And God bless everybody. I hope that I am really wrong on this one. The bad part is everything I've done in the past turned out to be correct.
Well, I hope you're wrong too, Bob, but I guess time will tell, won't it? So
it sure will, but it's whatever. God bless everybody, and just live day to day and do the best you can. Don't go crazy over it, because if it's as big as it is, nothing's going to stop it.
All right. Well, Bob, again, thank you so much, and we'll have to talk again very soon. I appreciate you coming on.
There's going to be some backup information I'm going to want to give you guys.
All right, great. Well, just please email me, and if need be, we'll have to pull you back on for any updates. So thank you.
Okay, very good. Take care.
All right, have a good one. Bob Fletcher, folks. This has been a broadcast of Late Night in the Midlands. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll call it the Bob Show tonight, which I'm not complaining. He had a ton. I mean, he's given you his information. I really, I don't have a ton of questions when it comes to Bob. Bob's more the guy you kind of like a Linda Moulton Howe. You just want to give the mic and say, all right, go ahead. And so that's what we do with Bob. the last couple times he's been here. So hope you've enjoyed. Tomorrow night, there'll be a whole lot of interaction because tomorrow night we'll be answering your questions with Marie, the E.T., Marie Peterson is going to be joining us tomorrow. She is a walk-in extraterrestrial. Several questions came in via email. Those questions have now been passed to her. She's channeled the extraterrestrials for the answers. We're going to do it live right here on Late Night in the Midlands tomorrow night, and looking forward to it. I hope you are too. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm actually a few minutes over, and I don't really care right now. I just got to take a deep breath and say, wow, a lot of information, a lot to soak up, and, you know, Planet X, is it real, is it not? The debate's been going on for a long time. I won't come out and say run for the hills because, in my opinion, if it is coming, I don't know as though there's too many places you're going to go. I think you got to be lucky. I think it's like kind of spinning the roulette wheel. I think you pretty much got to hope that you're in the right place at the right time. As far as planning ahead and having the bunkers and all that, if that's what you want, I don't sell them either, but I know someone who does. Hardened Structures. We have the banner on our website. I very seldomly do I shout out and promote all that, but there it is. If you can afford it, hey, if I could afford it, I'd do it. Just for no matter what might come, for tornadoes, for God's sakes, I'd be okay with that. But I think that if you're underground, good chance you're going to be a sardine. I don't know. It's just my way of thinking. If something that big's coming, we're going through a debris tail with moons and asteroids and all that. The Earth is going to tilt this way and that way. I'm guessing that there's going to be a lot of crumbling. And if you do survive in your shelter, you may never, ever come out of that shelter again. So I don't know if I want to live like that. That's not living. So guess what I'll do? I'll wait it out here on the surface and take it as it comes. If I'm supposed to survive, then the good Lord will grant me that. If I'm not, well, the good Lord will take care of that too. And right now, the good Lord's telling me it's time to say goodnight. So, folks, for Ira, who does so much for us here, thank you. Jolene, who is our webmaster, does a wonderful job. For our moderators, and for all of you who have listened, and all of you who have stopped listening as of tonight, keep your eyes posted to the sky. I know of one of you anyways. Keep your eyes posted to the sky because you never know what you might see. Keep your ears posted to this broadcast because you never know what you might learn. Good night, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow night.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.